Welcome to Bears on Tap, hosted by Quinten Krzysko, Samir Patel, Sonny Verma, and the one and only Luce. Bringing you all the news, analysis, and opinions on the charter franchise, Chicago Bears.
And welcome back to another episode of Bears on Tap. We just suffered through, dare I say not suffered, we're extremely excited through 99% of a football game before we just get our hearts broken at the end. And that was it was still a fun game to watch. I feel like I'm still stuck in this mode of the Bears have sucked for so long that I can enjoy this. But at the same time, it's your chances at the top seed probably are gone after this. And next week essentially becomes a must win for you to lock up that 2 seed. My name is Quinten Krzysko. I am joined by Luce and Samir Patel. Gentlemen, starting with Samir, how are you doing following this game?
Oh man, what a roller coaster. That game took 4 hours too. It's just constant back and forth. Like you said though, Q, I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed watching Caleb operate. I enjoyed watching the rookies, kind of come out of their shell a little bit. I had full confidence that the Bears were going to pull it out at the end. I just I've seen this movie before. I am totally in, even when, Colston dropped that pass, Luther dropped that pass. I'm they're going to find a way. They're going to find a way. And they got so close and, it just wasn't on their side today. But dude, they went toe to toe with one of the best offenses in the NFL and kept up. And when can you say that about a Bears team? So that was positive, right? And I think we all know the negative, right? The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. And that is probably a legitimate concern when you go up against a coach like a Shanahan or a McVay or, some of these other coaches that we're going to see in the playoffs that aren't going to just, fall for Dennis Allen smoke and mirrors. So,
Ron, thoughts?
I'll tell you what, though, Dennis Allen made him punt twice for the first time since November. So, this was such a crazy, crazy game. And Daniel Berry's 100% spot on. Heartbreaker. But we will crack him because you know what? I am in okay spirits after this game. Yes, I'm sad that the 1 seed is gone. That's just the nature of what tonight means. Mm-hmm. They got to win next week to get the 2 seed, though. Do they want the 2 seed? Do they want to fall to the 3 seed? What is the Bears' strategy? We'll save that for later. The future looks interesting with next week in mind. I'm excited. I'll be at Soldier Field next week. I get to watch whatever the fuck they put out on the field. And it's going to be a great time. But, man, I'll tell you what. This is credit to a good friend of mine, Mr. Redrick Terry. He messaged me during this game and said, this is such a good Sunday night football game. I just wish the Bears weren't in it so I could just enjoy it. And he was 100% right. It was stress the whole time, right? There's constant stress, constant the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, the just nature of a football game. This was a great football game. When we step back and look at it, this was an incredible football game. And Samir, you nailed it. They went toe-to-toe with one of the best offenses in the league right now. Let's not forget, San Francisco is not in the playoffs because of their defense this year. It's because of that Brock Purdy-led offense. The Bears went toe-to-toe, and it came down to the last play. And I'll tell you what, if Ben Johnson's led Bears are going to give you that every week with a chance to win, even if it goes the other direction, I'll take it. Because that means you are constantly in the football game with a chance to end it, either in your favor or not in your favor. But you're always there. It's a weird mix of emotion, gentlemen. It's a genuine weird mix of emotion. I feel optimistic. I'm they're still in the playoffs. I got this for later. This is to celebrate the NFC North. Let's not forget the Bears conquered the NFC North, gentlemen. But damn it, I'd be lying to you if I wasn't a little bummed by tonight's game.
It's a little bum, but one thing that I am kind of coming out of this pretty encouraged by I mean, Darnell Wright didn't get there till this evening to avoid him getting anyone else sick. Devin Duvernay was dealing with the flu this week. DeMarco Jackson, Nashawn Wright, Josh Blackwell, Nick McLeod, and we found out right before the game, DJ Moore and Almeida Zacchaeus were dealing with that as well. You got 8 guys dealing with the flu on your injury report. That probably means the whole team has the flu, right? They didn't play like it. And like notably, Darnell Wright was probably the guy in the worst shape, I would assume, because he's the guy who was delayed coming out there. I thought he played great. So I'm not quite as discouraged because of that aspect. You'd hope that, everyone's got immunity now. You don't have to worry about him this year. But I do think that softens it a little for me, that my expectations were a little lowered coming into this game, because I was thinking of it as like, everyone's got the flu here. It's just a question of what degree of recovery they're in. With maybe just a little bit of luck, they got everyone on the 49ers sick, and the 49ers might bounce out of the first round of the playoffs because they all have the flu. That's that 3D.
Would be crazy.
Sonny makes a good point in the comments. To be fair, it looked like the entire defense had the flu, which, yeah. Nashawn seemed to step slow. The linebackers seemed to step slow. Really, everybody besides Austin Booker seemed a step slow.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I posted out my notes that I took throughout this game, and it was like you said, Nashawn Wright had a few. Well, he's a step behind here. He's kind of getting just beat by double moves, and like he's not really doing that great. Byard was a step slow on a few things, and the linebackers in general were, I thought, behind everything. Now, hopefully that's more the flu than it is just they are what they are. But, well, I tend to think it's probably more whatever's good. I mean, I don't know. 49ers they've put up, as we mentioned earlier, they didn't punt for over a month.
Yeah.
So they put a lot of defenses in a blender. Kyle Shanahan is crushing it ever since Brock Purdy came back. But you still end up with a loss. Yeah, Caleb with 330 yards here. Surprisingly, like they gave up, or I shouldn't say gave up, because they still ran in some key moments. But they put this game on Caleb's shoulders pretty early. They only had 17 designed runs all game versus 42 dropbacks from Caleb. That's a pretty hefty number of them just throwing it out the window and just saying, this game we're gonna have to throw to win this game, and we're putting this on Caleb because we trust him here. And I think that's huge when you're missing Romo Dunze. We're counting a lot on Luther. Very active in the results here, at least. Like he had 4 targets, 1 catch for 7 yards. You were asking a lot of guys to step up who were otherwise like smaller parts of your game plan historically, which is good to see from the offense.
I think this was arguably one of the best games from Caleb, period. Like, I think we can confidently sit back and say that. He was efficient. He took advantage of opportunities. The free play touchdown to Colston Loveland, I think, is a great example of that. I feel like, again, this is why it's weird. Like, yes, I'm disappointed they lost, but they played an incredible football game. They really did. And I can't lie when I say it. I think this is one of the best football games from Caleb Williams that we've seen so far. And that's impressive. And it just feels like he keeps getting better as we get later into the season. That's even more critical.
Yeah, I think he's getting more comfortable for sure, Ron. Although if you ask Chris Collinsworth, he should hit some of those fadeaway checkdowns.
You mean when he's running for his fucking life?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense.
He's got to hit that. It's like, dude, he's throwing off a 1 foot. He's trying to get rid of the ball so he doesn't get pasted. The Colston Loveland one, fine. But, like, come on. Some of these other ones, it's like, dude, give the guy a break. But anyway, to your point, Ron, totally agree. I thought Caleb played under control. I think Caleb played calm. He made right reads. He didn't look flustered. I think he keeps getting more and more comfortable, in this offense as games go by. So I totally agree with you, Ron.
I'm going to push back a little on you guys there. I thought Caleb missed a few reads early in his progression, where ideally you'd be saying he hits Swift here, he hits Duvernay there, because they were wide open and the blitz was coming from right where they were heading. So like I in my notes, I did have 3 or 4 moments where I'm like, Caleb, take the cape off, just do the easy thing, because the easy thing would have resulted in a bigger gain there, would have resulted in something better. So like as great of a game as he played, like, I'm not sitting here knocking his overall game, because he played great. I did think there were a handful of times where it reminded me a little of his USC tape, where it was like there was something easy there for you to take, and you decided to take the hard route, and the hard route didn't work this time. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on the final play. What did you see? Starting with Samir.
It didn't seem like that play was anybody really kind of was comfortable with it from the start. I don't know. It didn't look like Caleb had a read. It wasn't there, then didn't know what to do and panicked. It just looked like pandemonium from the get-go. I'm not even really sure what it was designed to do. I mean, he kept it going for as much as he could. And actually, Walker was there. He didn't get enough gas on it. That's kind of where you'd like to see Caleb, be able to put some more gas on it if he can. I know he's getting tackled, but Walker kind of coming up towards the ball, right? I think if he took 2 steps closer, he still would have been in the end zone, and help his quarterback out by shortening that distance that he has to get the ball there. But it didn't look like one of those where like, oh, they called the wrong play and the read wasn't there, and so they had to panic. It just looked like from the snap there was confusion. I'm not sure. I didn't get they only showed it like once or twice on the broadcast, and then they kind of like cut away. So I'm not 100% sure.
Ron, what did you see on that final play?
I'm kind of in the same line as Samir here. I really, even on the replay, there's really nobody open. And again, we might not know the purpose. This is the beauty of all 22. Go watch the all 22. I encourage you. That's where you get all the answers that you need to get. But there really wasn't anybody open. And Caleb tried to extend that play as long as he could. And even to give Jade a chance there, off the back foot, kind of an awkward angle on the throw, like, you'll take that when things aren't necessarily going your way on the play. Now, it's not to say it's a bad play call, right? I don't think that's the thing, but maybe the Niners did their correct homework and they knew what to call in that situation. And sometimes that happens. This was the ultimate chess match of Kyle Shanahan and Ben Johnson. And it was a good one, man. This was the best game of the weekend so far, and it's not even fucking close if we're talking just pure football games, in my opinion.
So I asked because I have a thought here on the final play, and I'm not totally sold on it, but I thought he had Swift right away. I thought it was designed to get Swift open on a safety where Swift had 1 to 2 steps on the safety to the corner, and you're counting on Swift being able to beat him to that corner. But I thought it was there, and I'm not sure. Maybe it was second read. Swift throws his hand up pretty early in the play, and I saw that, and I'm looking back at it right now, and I'm like, he's got 1 to 2 steps horizontally on the safety. And it seems like the Bears, they have 2 wide receivers to the left side, right? And it seems like those 2 wide receivers are kind of boxing that safety in with slant routes to try to get that to Swift. Now, again, I don't know the progression. I don't know if that's even the read. But just when I was looking at it, it felt like the design was, to me, to pop Swift open there for a chance, which is very bang, bang, very close. And part of why it doesn't hit is probably the free runner that Caleb has coming up his left side, which I can't quite tell if there's why that guy got free, whether he just wasn't in the protection or what, but or maybe if there's a batted ball thought from Caleb there after having a handful in this game with that free runner. But I thought Swift was there, and I thought that was a throw that Caleb should hit in theory. but also that's a very veteran throw to trust your running back there to go make this play for you when you're a young quarterback who puts the cape on that often. I also recognize that's a tough ask, especially for a guy who's been so successful in these late game spots. But I did think schematically there's at least a 50-50 shot Swift gets in the end zone.
I think the key with that play, Q, is what you said. It's we don't know the read because Caleb's eyes appear to go to those slants before they ever even go to Swift. So it makes it feel like that's not the read. But again, we don't totally know. Like we can all sit here, every person in the comment section, every person in the analysis groups, unless you're in that room, none of us know what the read was on that last play. Because that's the key. If Swift's the primary read, then yeah, you can make an argument that Caleb missed that. But if it's, hey, it's 1 to 2 to 3 and Swift is the third read, then that's just the play call. You got to live with it. Sometimes you live and die with the play call. It happens. That's football in a nutshell. So I agree with you, Q. I think everything that you just laid out is 100% correct. But unless we actually know the read, it's so hard to sit back and say, like, yeah, he's there. Because if you watch Caleb's eyes, it doesn't look like he's the first read if you're just going based off of where the quarterback's vision goes.
Yeah, as you're saying that and looking at it, I'm almost thinking if it is, it's Caleb's trying to pull the safety down to the slant. Like with his eyes, he's trying to pull that guy into that route progression so he can pop it over to Swift. Either way, we'll look at the all 22 and we'll talk about more on our O-line show because we keep it mostly O-line, but we do get a little into the weeds with some of that stuff. But we have a comment here. Oh, go ahead, Samir.
Oh no, you want to get to the comment? I had a quick question for you guys, but you can address the comment if you want to.
Well, I was going to start off with this comment from J.K. Adams talking about running down the clock. So I was curious what your guys' thoughts starting with Ron this time and the clock management down there in the 2-minute warning.
I have no issues with it. I really don't. Like, there's no perfect way to running the clock. If you feel like they didn't do a good job, that's just your philosophy. Like, there is no standard. There is no, like, this is how you should do it. It's all gut. It's all feel. It's all situational. I think for what the Bears had, 2:15, you're on the plus side of the 2-minute warning. You have all your timeouts. Run it down as much as you can. You want the last chance to score, take the lead, and win the game. And they gave themselves that. Like, I think if we're talking clock management, they did a brilliant fucking job. The only problem was you didn't successfully get the last play in the end zone. Like, that's the only difference between this being they're so dumb, why would you run the clock down? And they're fucking geniuses, they won the game. Like, it's so easy to sit here as a Monday morning quarterback or a Sunday night quarterback in this case and say, well, they should have done this. Sure, no shit, Dick Tracy, they should have done that. But in the moment, you gave yourself a chance on the final play. So I think from a clock management standpoint, I'm really not upset with how they handled it.
I think they thought that a hook and ladder was going to be the last play of the game. I thought that they thought they were going to score there, and that would have been 10 seconds left in the game, and that's what they thought the last play in the game was. And then if you're going to score with 10 seconds left, yeah, that's perfect, right? Because you can't leave that Niners team any time because of the way they were playing. So I kind of agree with you, Ron. I wanted to leave as little time as possible. Now, would it have been nice if they got 2 plays, because it wasn't a down situation, right? Like Green Bay, it was a time situation where, could you have maybe run 2 plays if you managed it a little bit better? I guess. But like you said, if they scored on that, it would have been like, oh, perfect. They got exactly how they wanted it. The question I had for you guys was, you talked about the batted balls. I'm guessing that's mostly on the quarterback, but is there a percentage like 70-30 offensive line maybe can do a better job to help with that? Or is a batted ball like strictly just on the quarterback, find the throwing lane?
I'd say it's not strictly on the quarterback, but the ones that we've seen, especially in this game, I have a really hard time putting on the O-line. Like 1 or 2 of them, the guy was still at the line of scrimmage. I think Caleb gets a little too much heat on his lasers sometimes, and that there's not enough arc on him, which is a learned thing. I think he'll continue to learn to get better about that. But some of that is timing too. If he feels like he's a touch late on his progression, he's going to laser it. If he feels like he's on time with his progression, it gives him more time to create more loft. So some of that comes with familiarity with the offense too. And I think we've seen incredible growth this year with his familiarity within the offense. And as that's happened, we've seen the batted passes get down a little bit. Robert Saleh is a good defense coordinator. He probably gave Caleb a few more questions in this game than he'd seen the last few weeks. So, I mean, probably similar to what he saw against Green Bay, honestly. But I think that probably factors in and creates more necessity for Caleb to bullet that thing in there when he feels like he's just a touch behind where he needs to be.
Also, just understand, too, that really well-coached football teams, your defensive line is taught if you can't get to the quarterback, read, react, and get your hands up. There's a reason that Q and I always talk about punishing jumpers on the offensive line. That's a thing. They're going to jump, punch him in the rib cage. It's legal. There ain't no shit about not being able to punch somebody at the line of scrimmage. I promise you, it goes unnoticed all the time. You got to punish jumpers. You have to. That's the key to the offensive line. Now, granted, sometimes your quarterback's going to get balls batted down. Caleb is a shorter quarterback. Shit's going to happen. That's kind of the nature of the beast with a guy who has the arm that he has without, per se, the height that he has. And that's okay. You'll live with those when you get them. But really well-coached football teams are going to jump and deflect passes. You see that difference, right, with a Cleveland Browns team, with, other teams that the Bears have played this year that they've very clearly been superior to, right? But when you see a well-coached football team that's in this probably the same echelon as a Ben Johnson coached football team, they're going to make those plays. They're going to get in throwing lanes. That's just the fucking difference of being well-coached by guys like Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh and so many on that staff that have been there since Kyle Shanahan got the job. There's a reason the 49ers have been completely legitimate since Kyle Shanahan took over as head coach. And that's a big reason why.
Yep.
Yeah, and the punishing jumpers is really all the O-line can do about it, in my opinion. And it's a great point. Something we've talked about on the show is like we'd like to see the Bears coach to that a little more. We don't know if they are or not, but like the results don't make it seem like they're pushing that heavily. But it's hard for me to complain about much that's going on with the O-line this year. So like if that's all I got to complain about, I'm okay with it. But one other thing that Sonny threw in the comments here is that him and Ron discussed last week. Caleb 4,000 yards within reach. After this game, he had 330 yards. Came into the game with 3,400, so he should be at 33,730 now. He's 270 yards away from 4,000, and I think he's only like 150 or 160 away from the Bears single season record. Yeah. So that's exciting. I think he's 4 touchdowns away from tying or from breaking Kramer's touchdown record as well. But 4 might be we'll see. Might be a tall task next week. Might not be. But I'd rather see them win the game than try to focus on the passing stats. So
agreed.
Yeah. But gentlemen, any other thoughts you have exiting this game before we get into our segments here?
No, I just the defense, we talked about the offense quite a bit there. I'm sure we'll get into the defense here a little bit later, but obviously that was a little alarming, a little disappointing. I do think that defense is going to look a lot different next year. I think there's going to be some players that you might be surprised aren't coming back and some that you're not so surprised aren't coming back. And so I know Bears fans are a little discouraged by that, but I think now Ben Johnson's got his side of the ball correct. He's going to be like, okay, we're good here. Let's address what's going on the other side of the ball. And I think, players like Billings and Brisker and, some others, you probably won't see them on the Bears team next year.
Ron?
I agree with Samir, but I am not looking forward to next year until next year is here.
Fair.
So it's funny because, there's been a lot of reports over the last couple of days. We've heard about the Max Crosby shit. Everybody's stirring the seagulls from Nemo. Bears, mine. Right? We all can't help ourselves. It's always looking forward to next year. Right now, I am ignorantly just worrying about the 2025 Chicago Bears, but Samir, I think you're 100% correct. Until then, though, I'm going to meatball until I can't meatball anymore. The Bears are still playing football. That's all I care about.
I guess for this year, Luther Burden, we should probably address that he was kind of carted off the field after the game. But I did see on X that he was doing post-game interviews in his locker. So I'm guessing it's not super serious if they're letting him do that and he's not going to get something checked out. But Sonny, if you're on X and you want to do some more research, because he just gave us the Caleb numbers from Kramer. Feel free to throw those in the chat.
Yeah, Caleb 109 yards away from Kramer. So right there. But we got a question here. So are the Bears in the playoffs? Yeah, the Bears have clinched the NFC North. So they're at least a top 3 seed in the playoffs. They can't drop lower than the 3 seed. But I think as their destiny is in their own hands, though, I believe. As long as they win next week, they are the 2 seed.
When you're the 2 seed, you welcome the Packers to Soldier Field yet again.
Yep.
Yet again, for the 3rd time, you'll play the Packers. Side note, did you guys know that Luther Burden's, I want to say, dad or grandfather played in the NBA?
Really?
Nope, no idea.
Yeah. So, okay, his grandfather. So I was at Thanksgiving. It's been a long time since I've talked with you guys, but at Thanksgiving, one of my parents' friends was watching the game with us, and he's not like a diehard Bears fan. He's a bigger college fan than anything, basketball and NFL. And he sees Luther Burden's name. He's like, "Is he related to Luther Ticky Burden?" I was like, "Who's Ticky Burden?" So I went and looked it up. Luther Burden's grandfather, Luther Ticky Burden, was on the United States men's national basketball team, 1974 FIBA World Championship team, winning a bronze medal, played at the University of Utah, and then played some basketball with the Virginia Squires of the ABA and the New York Knicks of the NBA, which I had no idea prior to that. So I thought that was interesting.
Good genetics. Also makes sense why he's Luther Burden III.
Right.
There's your answer to that. But
that checks out, yeah.
And then, so Max, not a wild card. They are, they'll be in the wild card round since they won't get the number 1 seed. The only team that gets a bye this week or this year, starting last year or 2 years ago, is the 1 seed.
2 years ago.
So they'll play in the wild card round, but they'll have home field advantage unless they play the 1 seed throughout the playoffs. Assuming they get the 2 seed. Yeah. But guys, you want to go ahead and get into our first segment here?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
The nicest man.
Of course, it's a loss. And we haven't had a lot of these this year, but I like to start the losses with the nicest man. And this is the guy who did the most favors for the other team today, did the most favors for the 49ers. And, the 49ers leaving the field, and they're like, that guy, he's an okay dude. I like that guy. Samir, who is your nicest man on the Bears today?
Well, there's a lot of candidates here. I'm going to go with a guy we haven't talked about yet, and that is Montez Sweat. I feel like you are the captain of this defense. You're the highest paid player on this defense, and you continuously got juked out on this read option by Brock Purdy over and over again, and you just lost contain, and it was an embarrassing effort. I think how many screenshots did we see of plays ending with Sweat chasing this guy, not even shaking his head like, oh, he got me again. And did he have the worst game out of everybody on the defense? Probably not, right? We talked about Nahshon Wright struggles. The linebackers struggled mightily. Jaquan Brisker, he just waits for other people to make plays, and then he does this. I'm not really sure what other value he's providing out there. But if you are Montez Sweat, you are the guy, right? If the defense is really struggling, you're the one that needs to step up. You're the one that needs to get the troops fired up. This is your defense. You're the captain. You're the highest paid player. And he didn't do that. So I'm going to go with Montez Sweat for my nicest guy.
I think that's a perfectly fair pick. I have 3 plays marked down where I thought he lost edge contain. 2 were as you mentioned, those read option plays, one of those going for a touchdown, the other for a big first down on a third and short, I believe it was. And then on, let's see, he failed to set the edge against outside run that resulted in a touchdown for McCaffrey. And Ron, I know you tweeted something out about that play about just being like really good design. At least I thought that's what you're talking about from Shanahan. And I didn't catch the details of that play. If you have any thoughts on it, I'd love to hear it.
I don't know if it was the Purdy option play. I think it was the
McCaffrey touchdown.
The McCaffrey pitch. Yeah. So what they did was they brought Juszczyk, who was the left side tight end on the play. They had him come in motion, and then he almost essentially became like a pulling guard almost, because he ran an orbit motion in front of the running back instead of behind the running back, and set up his block to get into the end zone. I just thought it was brilliantly designed. Again, I'm a sicko. I watch the stupid little nuances and details of plays. Like, it really is kind of the new school option, is what like the Niners and the Rams and these, McVay inspired offenses run. It's the wing tee, the double wing in current day. And you get some of those. And that's what that was, right? You're bringing the back in motion, you're letting him get out in front, letting him block, and setting up a beautiful touchdown. I like what they do. I really do, man. It's a thing of beauty to see.
Yeah, so I didn't want to knock him too hard on it when I saw that you said you were like so complimentary of the design, but I thought that he could have done a better job setting the edge there and preventing it from turning into what it did.
Sure.
But
Fair.
Ron, where are you going for your nicest man in this one?
I'm going to go with the guy that Samir briefly mentioned. I'm going to go with Nahshon Wright, unfortunately. There was a lot of highlights in this game. Big plays by Ricky Pearsall, other San Francisco receivers where you saw Nahshon Wright kind of chasing the play. Speaking of chasing the play, you mentioned Montez Sweat. We got to see that a lot with Nahshon Wright tonight, unfortunately. They had a good design. And I'll tell you what, Purdy made some excellent throws. Like, let's not discredit what Purdy did tonight. I mean, the guy accounted for 5 total touchdowns, 3 through the air, 2 on the ground. I mean, the throw to Pearsall on the deep in over the middle. I mean, the coverage was there. Like, he's draped by the defender, and it's just a perfect ball from Purdy. Like, I really think we need to just give a little bit of credit to Brock Purdy where it's due. Like, this dude's balled the fuck out this year. And if no other game shows that, the last 2 weeks, Brock Purdy has been brilliant for the San Francisco 49ers. There's a reason that they still have a shot at the 1 seed. If they win and Seattle loses, I mean, they control their own destiny. That's a hell of a matchup next week between Seattle and San Francisco. And you can see why. I mean, that they've punted 3 times since like the last week of November. 1 was in that last game of November, and then 2 today. To go that long without punting, that just shows you how hot your offense is, getting shit done. And shit, man. I mean, they did a great job today, but Nahshon Wright looked lost at times. And again, we don't know the coverage. I'm not going to sit here and pretend and just be like, oh, it's all your fault. Maybe not every play it was, but just immediate reaction, really easy to notice him chasing a lot of plays tonight.
Yeah, it absolutely was. I mean, so my notes here from Nahshon Wright were got beat on the inside release from a cover 3. He was playing outside leverage, so he was outside the receiver at the alignment, which made me question, like, okay, I mean, he got beat, but like he's supposed to get beat that direction. So I was like, where's the safety? Where's the linebacker who's supposed to be filling that area? But like, it's still, I thought that he could have done a better job reaction speed on that play to getting back inside. And then one of them that I have written out is he lost outside contain on an outside run play, and CMC was able to find the corner and turn that into like a 25-30 yard run. And that, like, he got there in pursuit, and I think he actually got injured by Jalen Johnson on that play. But he lost contain there. So even though he did get back in pursuit, that play was never supposed to get by him in the first place. And then he got torched. I had him getting torched by Pearsall on the double move in what amounted to man coverage. Like, I don't know if it was cover 3, cover 4, what it was, but he was essentially in man coverage, locked up on Pearsall from a off coverage. And he slipped and fell. I don't think that's an excuse. I think that he lost the rep before that happened. It just happened to be that he slipped and fell trying to recover. And then again, I thought Pearsall's change of direction and technique as a route runner was a real problem for Wright in this game. Which somewhat predictable, honestly. If you looked at any of the pre-draft stuff or NFL stuff that Pearsall has done, it's like his entire game is based on being a route technician and his change of direction ability. And that is the thing that Nahshon Wright struggles the most with, is changing direction. So, and finally, I had him on I think it was like a quick tight end throw. I think it was number 3. I forget who number 3 is on the Niners, but he got kind of trucked for a first down. And so, like, those were the plays that I had notes for on Nahshon, which is a decent amount of negative. So I think that's a fair nicest man pick. For me, I think that those two guys are great picks. I think that Brisker had a tough day. I thought that he was kind of lost out there a handful of times. I think CJ Gardner-Johnson's lack of discipline came into play a few times. I think he had some really nice plays that covered for it too. But I thought he had an up and down day, but ultimately I'm going with Tremaine Edmonds. I think Edmonds had a really rough game today. The first touchdown, I think that he lost former Bears legend Jake Tongas in the end zone. And then I thought he was late to fill on the CMC touchdown run, which again was a great design, as we talked a little about earlier, but I thought that he was a little late getting over on it. Then he allowed a big Christian McCaffrey catch for like 15 yards on 2nd and 20 on a Texas route. Just got beat on it, which CMC's a tough cover, but like Tremaine Edmonds is one of the only guys in the NFL who's built to be able to do it. So I was just expecting a little more from him on that. And then there were a few positive plays sprinkled in there. I thought he had a nice, given some nice power stopping ability on a Austin Booker run stuff where he was able to keep the guy from getting the first down, but followed that up with hesitating in the hole. Against CMC, he had him and he just kind of chopped his feet and waited and let CMC get inside of him, which, if he, I think, went for the tackle there, easy to say, right? I hate to be the guy with the laser pointer going like, if you just did that, but like, that's how that play felt to me. It was like, if he just attacked, I think that he was done for there. And then in the red zone again, I thought that he jumped up. He was over aggressive jumping up to try to take away Purdy's scramble on one of those final touchdowns, which left his guy wide open when CJGJ had, it seemed to me, just based on, my understanding of the coverages, CJGJ was there and in the spot that he needed to be to take Purdy's scramble away. And Edmonds just kind of panicked and went for it, leaving his guy wide open. So to me, I see Tremaine Edmonds as the guy who was involved in the most touchdown plays, and that's got to be my nicest man.
Fair, very fair.
But now that we have that out of the way and we can stop being like such big downers on it, let's get to the next segment here.
The baddest man.
Starting with Ron, who's your baddest man for the Chicago Bears today?
Oh man, I'm gonna take what I feel like is low hanging fruit, and that is Luther Burden. Luther Burden was really fucking good today. That guy is continuing to prove that he might be the number one receiver in this offense. Yeah, that rookie wide receiver, he is. He's nasty. He's like that. There's a reason the Bears were excited to get him at the 39th overall pick in the second round. There's a reason that Ben Johnson got on the phone and asked him, are we getting the dog that coach said that I'm getting? Because they knew what kind of value he brings to the table. I'll tell you what, probably more than any other receiver that I've seen recently in the NFL, outside of a very small few, he is so good if you give him 2.5 yards of separation one-on-one with a decision to be made. If he can head fake you and pick one way or the other, he's probably going to win more often than not. We saw it late in the game, converting on a huge Huge opportunity there to keep their drive alive on that last drive. Luther Burden is so good in short space that it makes him an ultimate weapon. And I can't believe the Bears got this guy in the second round, because I really do believe we talked about it on Hot Takes. I thought he was going to be the Bears' number one receiver by the end of the season. And I still feel that way. I know DJ balled out against the Packers, but Burden was back this week and he took all the limelight away from DJ Moore. And he was that good. Luther Burden III is a bad fucking dude.
He is, man. He is. Like his juice after the catch is just wild. He seems like he's having an easy time getting that separation and getting to the point where he can, like you said, give that head fake. And like, change of direction is just different, dude. His burst out of like going right to just go completely left from there is the stuff that gives defensive backs nightmares. He's a yak monster. He can separate. There's a lot to be excited about with this kid. A whole lot. I mean, even 2 times in the final 2 minutes, he drew a holding penalty. And then he has, like you said, the huge third down conversion with the yak, and he makes a guy just look silly doing it. Luther Burden's an easy pick here for this. I love that one, Ron.
Yeah, and the question is, he hurt bad? You said he was taking post-game interview questions, so hopefully that means he's not hurt bad, because usually guys that get hurt don't take interview questions at the end of a game.
Yeah, and he was sitting in his locker too, so it's not like he was somewhere else on crutches doing whatever. He was sitting in his locker. I didn't listen to the interview because obviously we're doing the show, but that's at least encouraging, I guess.
So this says he was seen grabbing his left hamstring on the way to the x-ray room after the final play.
So this is a new one. It's not the ankle. Okay. It's not the ankle that kept him out last week.
But if he was, it looks like 18 minutes ago he was talking to the press. So, hopefully those x-rays came back negative. It's weird that you would be grabbing at your hamstring with an x-ray. So, I mean, maybe they thought there might have been a bone bruise or something. But it seems like he's probably fine if he's doing those interviews. Samir, where are you going for your baddest man in this one?
Well, tip of the cap to Ron. I think Luther Burden is an excellent choice. Loveland, also a great choice. But when we do the previous show, I picked Caleb Williams to be my baddest man, and he put up a good enough game where I'm going to roll with him for the baddest man. Like you said earlier, Q, Ben trusted him to make play after play after play. And he was expected to make play. He needed to make play after play after play because it was a shootout and it was a track meet. And the Colts tried to do it, keep up with the Niners last week with Rivers. And, they did a little bit, but then there was a pick 6 and then they couldn't get out of their own way. And then eventually the Niners just blew past them, right? Caleb didn't let that happen. He met them score for score, right? And then the defense got to stop. Fortunately, we couldn't get a touchdown. We could only get a field goal, which, ended up being the difference there. But Caleb, first game over 300 yards. I think he was right at 60% completion percentage, maybe a hair below, which, nothing to write home about for, a lot of quarterbacks, but definitely improvement from where he was at before. And, we had some throwaways in there as well, and a couple of 2 drops noticeably on the last drive that always count for some of that. So I thought Caleb looked poised. I thought, there could have been some reads or some other throws you could have had back, but they're nowhere near in this game without 18 back there.
Yeah, I'm so again, I haven't been on with you guys in a little bit. I haven't gotten to talk much about this, but you've seen the offense open up over the last 3 weeks. You've seen the shotgun play calls start to really enter the rotation. And it's a change in the offense that says, I trust the quarterback in my mind, and is letting the quarterback do some more things that, granted, I think he's better at, that he's more used to from his college career. For the majority of this season, he's done a lot of things that he'd never really done before in his career. And now they're opening the playbook up, I think, to a lot more things that, a lot more spread concepts, a lot more things that are putting the decision-making fully in his hands and letting him read through stuff in a more probably less of a pure, this is just a guess, but probably less of a pure progression status where it's like 1, 2, 3 to more of a what am I seeing pre-snap? Where am I going based off that? One of my notes in this game was he's winning pre and post snap. And earlier in the season, when so many of the passing plays are your back's turning, I don't think there's as much pre-snap thought process. It's much more, what am I seeing when I'm flipping around? And Ron, you might correct me on that, but that's the way that I'm kind of reading it. And I think Caleb is really growing in this offense right now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, truthfully. And Sonny said Ben Johnson had no update in regards to Burden. Burden said he was just really tired, gave it his all when he asked how he felt. So I'll tell you what, Burden's in good shape, giving it his all. Caleb's in good shape, giving it his all. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of trust. It's a lot of trust that is happening right now with, giving Caleb Williams the attention that he deserves, the trust that he deserves, and letting him try to do something with this offense right now.
And we got a question here. So number 2 would get us the Bucks or Panthers. No, because they're going to win the division. So whoever wins the NFC South is automatic 4 seed. Number 2 is going to get us the Packers. I believe that's locked in. The Packers are pretty much the 7
Yes,
seed
it
at
is.
this point. Okay. So if the Bears are the 2 seed, they will get the Packers at Soldier Field for the wild card round. Now for my baddest man, I'm gonna go with a defensive player, which seems impossible in this game after giving up, 42 points and nearly 500 yards of offense. But I thought this was the best game of Austin Booker's career by far, bar none. I didn't think the 49ers had a good answer for him all game long. I thought they let him do a little more wide rusher stuff, which is some of the stuff that I think he really excels at. But I think he earned it because he's been such a just undeterred, totally willing run defender all year, doing his best to win with power in a scheme that asks him to do that some. Like, I've been really impressed by his fortitude for most of this season, but I feel like a lot of it paid off in this game plan where they got to see him. They asked him to be much more of that pure pass rusher. And I think it paid off in this game where you're seeing this guy just flying around, making tackles at all levels of the field. That closing speed, like he closed on the backside of a play action play about as fast as you'll see any defender close on and win on, where he's got to run that wide of a circle to get that win. I didn't think they had a good answer for him. He had a really nasty ghost move late in the game too on a 3rd down where it was just like, oh, okay, Austin Booker. Like I see the vision here if you're doing that type of stuff. I'm excited about where Austin Booker goes from here because I was skeptical of Austin Booker coming into this season because he's going to have to play power football. Dennis Allen is going to ask his defensive ends to play power football, and if they can't, they won't see the field. With Deo going down, I think Booker kind of had to see the field, and he has answered the bell, in my opinion, of playing power football to a manageable degree of being able to set that edge. Really just being for lack of a better term, just being a motherfucker at the point of attack. He's just punching people in the mouth over and over, and he still has that bend, that speed, that burst. There's a lot exciting about what Austin Booker put on tape tonight, and I think the Bears are going to be able to lean into that a little more going forward.
Hell yeah.
But you guys want to get to our final segment here before we close this thing out? All right.
Keys to victory.
Now, unfortunately, with this week, we didn't get an article out on our keys to victory. That's on me. It's Christmas. Time was hard. But we're past that. You guys were on the game preview. Can you talk through a few of your games to victory that you threw out there? I listened to it, but I didn't. I was driving, so I didn't write them down as I was listening. So just, if you guys can refresh my memory a little on what your keys were.
Yeah, man. Samir, I'll turn it over to you first. Your offensive keys, keeping pace. 49ers are going to score, match it. Can you recover if you can't keep up? And on defense, don't let Purdy break contain. Don't let him scramble and make it difficult. I think they did one of those really well. I don't think they did the other so much.
Yeah, I think the keys were good. I just don't. Yeah, like you said, they had for the offense, they had to keep pace, and they did. And then, as we talked about with my nicest man Sweat, they had to keep Purdy in the pocket, keep him contained, don't let him get outside, and he juked the crap out of him, both on his run plays and just kind of scrambling around. And like you had mentioned, that one play where he hit Juszczyk in the back of the end zone, just kind of running circles around Billings. Poor Billings, man. You see him trying to just chase Purdy, and it's like this guy has no chance to get there. But yeah, I think you're right, Ron. They hit on one key. They were able to keep pace with the Niners, and they had to. It was an explosive game, but defensively they weren't able to hit that key, and that was part of the reason they lost.
100%. Brennan said it was stop CMC or contain him or whatever it takes to beat him. Brock is either going to be great in prime time or can he do it again? Yeah, he did it again. And he said start fast, get points. They need to get shit moving. And, they did get shit moving on defense fast. And then, there was some movement back and forth. I think overall, CMC still had a good day, and that killed them in the long run. I think in addition to that,
180 yards on 27 touches.
Yeah, that happens.
Heck of a day.
That will happen. And Brock Purdy was good too. And, even though they started fast, I don't think everything was totally there. I'll tell you what, my key was time of possession, build off potentially a fast start. And at some points they did it well, and some points they didn't. But I'll tell you what, man, it was tough. It was tough. I don't think they ran the football the way that I think a lot of Bears fans would have hoped to kind of control that clock a little bit more. 49ers take advantage of it. Bears still had a chance late. I'll tell you what, man, it's hard to sit here and be like, they should have done this. Like, there was a lot of shit working. They had a chance late in the game to win this thing. But overall, my big thing was time of possession. And it really didn't feel like that was necessarily there over the course of the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the Bears didn't punt, right? They had a field, or no, I'm sorry, they did.
No, they punted. They punted a couple times.
3 times. I was looking at the wrong part of the stat sheet here.
Yeah, they punted twice or 3 times.
Three times.
Okay.
Niners punted twice. I mean, the Niners had the interception in there, so technically like 3 turnovers, and the Bears didn't turn the ball, or not turnovers, but 3 changes of possession, I guess, without a score. Bears didn't have a turnover, so that 3 and 3. I mean, you were right there. Like, it was just 1 for 1 back and forth, and at the end of the day, it's kind of hard to look at the first quarter and not say that's where it ended up being lost, because they didn't match it first, and they were playing catch up a lot of the game.
100%.
Yeah, I think that that interception that was called back because of the hands to the face, if that stays in the Bears' favor, I think that really turns the tide for this team. And it was tough because it wasn't the reason that he got the interception, right? It was just a fluky thing that happened before the play even developed. So that was unfortunate, the way that worked. But to your point, Ron, I'm kind of encouraged. The Bears running game is their bread and butter, right? Every talking head says, they're the second best rushing team in the league. This is where they're good. And like you mentioned, they only had 17 design runs and they put up 38 points. Like, I feel like this team is so adaptable to whatever the situation can call for, that they're not so reliant on a style to win the game. If it calls for air raid, they're going to figure it out. If it calls for ground and pound, like with the Eagles, they're going to do that. And that kind of gives me some encouragement that like Ben Johnson knows his team and his personnel so well that he'll be able to make adjustments that might not have been the game plan from the beginning, right? But he understands his team so well that he's going to be able to put these guys in a position to succeed no matter what style of offense they want to go with.
All right, so Sonny shared his final thoughts here. This is just year 1 of Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, Burden, and Loveland. What a time to be alive. Samir, was that your final thought that you just shared, or did you have anything else that you wanted to throw out?
No, I think that's great. Sonny's absolutely right. And I was thinking about that during the game too. I'm like, Purdy and Shanahan have been together for a while, right? Like, they know how each other works. They know the system. These guys know how to play within it. And Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams went toe-to-toe with that in year 1. And And I know Ron doesn't want to hear the next year term, but I'm so excited to see what like these guys can do with a full off season and some more, time. I know it stings right now, but like, I don't know. This is fun. I'm having fun with this Bears season, right?
Ron, any final thoughts from you?
I sure do. First and foremost, Justin L's a real one here. 49ers fan, impressed by Caleb. Amazing game. It was an amazing football game. I think that's the biggest takeaway here. This was an amazing football game. The Bears showed up. The Bears showed out. This is a 49ers team that, in my humble opinion, there was a comment in here a little bit earlier. I'm going to see if I can find it again. Asking, who do we have in 49ers Seahawks? I think the 49ers are the better football team based on what I saw on Sunday. The Panthers put up a hell of a fight against the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks have a really good defense, but I think their offense is in a little bit of a sorts right now. I think the 49ers are the better football team. They have a shot at the 1 seed. If they end up being the 1 seed, you can look at this season and go, well, the Bears lost to Packers, the 1 seed in the NFC, and only a couple other teams. And then they beat a lot of other good teams. And let's not forget, I know it's hard because you didn't get to get on the microphone and talk about it in true detail like we did when they clinched the playoff berth like Sonny and I did. But this Bears team still won the NFC North, boys. They've taken the North. The Packers are now the longest standing team without a North title after the Bears clinched it in 2025. So for that reason, my final thought, gentlemen, a shot to the Chicago Bears, taking the North, and I hope to God never giving it back. There's still playoff football on the horizon. This one sucks. They had a chance to win. It was a fucking awesome game. I hope they go take care of business next week and we get to see the Green Bay Packers back at Soldier Field. Salute, gentlemen.
Salute to that. Now, for my final thought, and this is something that I've been like stuck on in my head the last few weeks, is after the last few games. And it's last year, right? We saw Caleb have a handful of games where it was like, okay, this dude's arm took over that game. He ran the offense. He was the offense. And this year we really hadn't seen much of that. If you told me that aside, like obviously the game-winning drive against Green Bay was awesome, right? The final 2 minutes, there was a lot of luck involved, though. Like in getting that opportunity in general. In regulation, they truly, in my mind, didn't do enough in that game offensively. Now, they made up for it. A little bit of luck on the onside kick makes up for it. But, like, I have not seen a game since the Cincinnati game where I'm sitting there going, like, yeah, this passing offense is humming. And it was starting, like, I was getting a little nervous about it. And I think if you're sitting there saying you felt that great about it, you're lying to yourself. I didn't feel bad about it. I felt great about their run offense. I think run offense is more sustainable than anything in the NFL when you have it going, especially when this O-line. But I've been itching to see more of Caleb Williams running the show and running a consistent passing offense that is really hard to stop through the air. And we saw that tonight for the first time since that Cincinnati game. It's against a soft defense. Cincinnati game was against soft defense. That's a valid argument, but I do feel like operationally, this game seems so much cleaner than that Cincinnati game. Everything seemed like it was hitting the way it was supposed to hit, and Caleb was also finding answers outside of structure with it, like at the same time. He was finding answers in and out of structure, and that's truly exciting to me, especially from the aspect that we mentioned earlier. The Bears opening up their shotgun offense, their shotgun pass offense quite a bit the last few weeks. And, in my head, the last few weeks, I'm going like windy games in the cold. They played a lot of windy games this year, right? Like where I do think that it worked against their passing offense. Really almost every game since the Vikings, the game in Minnesota. Pittsburgh was windy as hell at Soldier Field. That Black Friday Eagles game, windy as hell and cold. At Green Bay, windy and cold. Against the Browns at home, they put up a bunch of points, but I didn't feel like the offense was like, I feel like that was much more bad defense going on than anything. And again, it was windy and cold. At home against the Packers, it was windy and cold. So like I was sitting there going, like, is it windy? Like, how much is that impacting the calls, the play style? And this game, I was really excited going in to see a much more neutral weather situation than we've seen in a while, and how the passing offense could answer to that. And I got everything I wanted out of it. So despite the loss, count me excited about what the Bears passing offense looked like today. And I think that there were real strides within it.
One thing I wanted to, I heard you say running the offense. I think Caleb should just run more in general. I think what the Niners did with Purdy, I would like to see more of that with Caleb, to be honest. And, he's got some of these where he boots out. And instead of throwing 1,000-mile-per-hour pass on the sideline, which rarely gets completed, I would really like to see him get north-south like Purdy does and just get 5 or 6 yards. He did a little bit of that, but that would be my only critique of him. I thought, especially on that first drive when it was 3rd and 3, he could have gotten that if he just stopped going so horizontal and started going a little bit more north-south. But I don't know. I thought he could take a little page out of that Purdy playbook a little bit and maybe use some of his legs more than he does currently.
I think if we in the playoffs, I think we're gonna. But like I said, I think they're layering in some more stuff that Caleb already knew pretty well that we haven't seen them run at all this year. Read option is something that read option and RPO stuff was stuff that Caleb excelled at in college, did well last year. Last year, he was one of the best short passers by PFF grade in the NFL. And a lot of that was RPO. I think that the Bears have that stuff in their back pocket that they're gonna pull out if they need it at some point, or maybe they don't have a ton of it, but I assume a little of it they're just kind of sitting on. But gentlemen, I think that wraps up the show for us. It's a defeat, it's a loss, it's gonna hurt that we're not in that 1 seed conversation, but you know what? There are positives to take away from this one, and we are on to next week against Detroit, and then we are on to the playoffs where it's shaping up to be Green Bay round 3. So let's get on our horses for that. Why don't we close out with a bear down, and we'll let everyone get to bed before work tomorrow.
Bear down, guys.
Bear down, baby.
Bear down.